The galaxy whispered her name with fear. For 30 years, the huntress known only as Kaelra never missed her target. No matter the planet, species, or defense system, if her name appeared on a bounty contract, the prey did not live to see another sunrise. Her face was rarely seen, her voice rarely heard, but her legend spread like wildfire, across empires, through war zones, and in the darkest places of space. Kaelra didn't hunt for money. She didn't need credits. She didn't hunt for justice either. She hunted because something inside her broke long ago, and tracking prey in silence was the only time she felt alive. She moved like a ghost. She blended with shadows, learned languages in days, memorized layouts in minutes, and when the time came to kill, she did it with clean precision. No mess, no fear. The Galactic Coalition once tried to capture her. 5 elite soldiers died within the hour. The 6th begged her to spare him. She did, but only because he reminded her of someone she once knew. That was years ago. Since then, no one dared to cross her, except now something was different. She stood inside her ship, the obsidian fang looking at the datapad in her hand. The next target file had just arrived. Her gloved fingers trembled. She never shook, not even when facing warlords, but now her hand was shaking. She turned off the screen quickly as if the name might burn her if she kept looking. She took a breath and looked again. Target: Elias Vren, human. Male. Age 39, former Coalition engineer. Known aliases: none. Last seen on Outpost 17 frontier system. Threat level: low. It made no sense. Elias Vren. That name didn't belong on a contract. He was no killer, no spy, no war criminal. He once fixed machines, repaired broken ships, and tried to make people laugh with terrible jokes. He had a soft voice, kind eyes. She remembered those eyes. She had seen them only once, 12 years ago on a frozen moon where she nearly died. He saved her then. He never asked for anything, and now someone wanted him dead. Kaelra sat still for a long time. Her helmet rested beside her. Her breathing was slow but heavy. For 30 years she followed every contract. She never asked questions. But this time, her past had returned in a name she never expected to see again. She could end the contract. Ignore it, delete it. But something deeper pulled at her. She had to see him again. Not to kill him. Not even to ask why. Just to look into those eyes once more. Maybe to ask if he remembered her too. She powered up the ship. Stars stretched in front of her as the engines roared to life. Navigation locked onto Outpost 17. Kaelra's mind replayed a moment she buried long ago. Cold winds, falling snow, a man wrapping her wounds, asking if she was okay. She had whispered her name then. Just once. No one else ever heard it. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, Kaelra didn't feel like a hunter anymore. Not for this mission. Not for Elias, but someone else wanted him dead. And if someone had sent a contract to her, others may have gotten it too. Faster ones. Cruel ones. If she didn't find him first, someone else would, and they wouldn't hesitate. She reached for her blades and strapped them to her legs. Whatever this was, it had already begun. Outpost 17 was not made for comfort. It was a rusting skeleton floating above a dead moon, mostly forgotten by the rest of the galaxy. Traders came here to disappear. Smugglers used its hollow halls to make secret deals. No laws reached this far. No one cared who lived or died out here. That's why Elias Vren stayed. He sat in the corner of a broken-down workshop, surrounded by half-dead drones and scattered tools. A small fire heater flickered beside him. His hands were greasy, and he hummed softly to himself, like someone who didn't know the galaxy had already marked him for death. He hadn't seen Kaelra's face since that day on the ice moon. But he hadn't forgotten her. Even though they only shared a few hours, the memory still lived in his chest like a warm light. He never knew what happened to her after that. She vanished before morning. No goodbye. Just a clean patch of snow where her body had once rested. He often wondered if she ever thought of him. He never imagined she might be flying through space with a contract to kill him. Kaelra's ship landed silently on the far end of the station. Her footsteps made no sound on the old metal floor. She wore a cloak over her armor now, covering her weapons, her identity. If anyone saw her, they only saw another shadow among many. But she wasn't hunting today. Not really. She moved past guards, ignored stares, and followed a trail of questions until she found someone who knew Elias. An old trader, drunk and half-blind, nodded toward the lower sectors. He's still fixin' bots. Always fixin' things. Good man, that one. Never asked much. Guess that's why folks like him. Kaelra didn't answer. She simply walked on, but her steps had slowed. Her chest felt heavy. Her mind raced with thoughts she didn't understand. This mission was already different. It wasn't like the others. There was no clear plan. No sharp focus. Just confusion. And feeling. She found him just before the generator hall. He hadn't seen her yet. He was leaning over a small drone, whispering something to it, smiling like it was alive. Her breath caught in her throat. Time didn't move. For the first time in 30 years, she hesitated. Then the door behind her slammed shut. Elias looked up. Their eyes met. He froze. The smile on his face disappeared, replaced by surprise, then recognition, then something deeper. He stood up slowly, wiping his hands on a cloth, his gaze never leaving her. "You," he said softly. I wasn't sure if you were real." Kaelra said nothing. She had killed hundreds, faced monsters, broken warlords, but right now she couldn't speak. "You remember me?" Elias said. She nodded once. He smiled again, but this time it was small. 12 years. I didn't think I'd see you again. Why are you here?" Kaelra stepped closer. "Someone sent a contract." Elias blinked, but he didn't flinch. "To kill me?" She nodded again. "Are you here to do it?" She didn't answer. He looked into her eyes, and after a moment he sat back down beside the drone. "Then you better tell me who wants me dead. Because I don't remember making enemies that important." Kaelra knelt beside him. "That's what I came to find out." And for the first time since she started hunting, Kaelra didn't feel alone. The generator room hummed quietly. Elias worked with calm hands while Kaelra stood nearby, silent, alert. She didn't trust the walls. Not anymore. If someone had placed a bounty on Elias, it meant he had value, or he had become a threat to someone powerful. And Kaelra knew from years of experience, threats were usually eliminated before questions were asked. Elias seemed unfazed by her presence now. He didn't ask if she would kill him. He didn't run. He simply passed her a wrench and pointed to a broken conduit. "Hold this open while I solder it. I'm tired of the lights flickering like we're in some haunted ship." She took the tool without a word. Her hands moved automatically, but her mind was somewhere else. Why him? Why now? Her clients were always hidden, faceless. The contracts came encrypted and clean. But this one felt personal. When the repairs were done, Elias sat back and wiped his brow. "So," he said finally, "you're not here to kill me." Kaelra looked at him. "Not yet." He laughed softly like he didn't believe she ever would. "You were different back then. Hurt, bleeding, but your eyes were already trained. I knew you weren't just some lost traveler. I was on a job," she replied. "I figured. I didn't ask questions. I just didn't want you to die in the cold." She turned her head, trying to hide the way his words touched something deep inside her. A long time ago, someone had cared if she lived or died. Elias was the only one who didn't look at her with fear or power or purpose. He just helped her. "I think someone's watching me," Elias said quietly. "I started feeling it weeks ago. Nothing I could prove. Just shadows. A drone that wasn't mine. People asking odd questions. Then 2 nights ago, a stranger followed me from the bar. I lost him, but it didn't feel like an accident." Kaelra's instincts sharpened. She looked around the room again. Then her eyes stopped at the small ventilation grate above them. It looked untouched. Normal, but something about the angle felt wrong. She pulled out a small sensor from her belt and aimed it toward the vent. A faint red light blinked. Motion tracker. Low range. Recently placed. She stepped forward and yanked it free. A quiet click, then a burst of static. Whoever had been watching now knew they were discovered. Elias stood up quickly. "That's not from the station." "No," Kaelra said. "It's a hunter's tag." He looked at her. "Like yours?" "No," she said. "Worse, less careful. More desperate. They had little time now. If a second hunter was on the trail, they wouldn't wait. And they wouldn't hesitate like Kaelra had. The station wasn't secure anymore. Whoever sent the contract had likely sent multiple agents, expecting only one to succeed. "We have to go," she said. "Go where?" "Anywhere that's not here." He looked at her again, and his face was calm. "You're risking your life for me." "I've risked it for less," she said. He smiled. "Then I trust you." Kaelra wasn't sure why those 3 words affected her so much. But as they moved through the halls together, avoiding cameras and scanning for danger, she realized something she hadn't felt in years. She didn't want to lose him, not again. They moved through the lower corridors of Outpost 17 like shadows. Kaelra led the way, scanning every hallway, every vent, every camera angle. Elias stayed close, keeping quiet, trusting her eyes more than his own. He had lived here for years without fear, but now every sound felt like a threat. Kaelra stopped at a sealed hatch near the cargo bay. She entered a private code. The door slid open, revealing a narrow service tunnel that led beneath the station's flight deck. "This way," she said. Elias stepped in without hesitation. Inside, the air was colder, the lights dim. The tunnel wasn't meant for comfort. It was meant for hiding things. Weapons, people, secrets. Kaelra had used it once, long ago, during a different mission. No one else knew it existed. They moved fast and quiet. Only the sound of their boots echoed faintly on the metal floor. Kaelra's mind stayed focused, but underneath the calm surface, something new was growing. She wasn't just protecting a target. She was protecting a man she had never stopped thinking about, and that scared her more than any blade ever had. "I never asked," Elias said softly behind her. "What happened to you after that day?" She paused for just a second. "I recovered. Took another job. Then another. I became who I am now." "You became the best," he said. "I've heard the stories." "Stories lie?" "Maybe, but they say you never miss." She didn't answer. Her silence said enough. When they reached the end of the tunnel, Kaelra opened another panel. A hidden supply room behind the docking bay. Inside were emergency rations, old weapons, and a backdoor access terminal. "We'll use this to unlock a maintenance shuttle," she said. "We won't make it far, but far enough to disappear." Elias nodded, but his eyes lingered on her face. "Who sent the contract?" Kaelra hesitated. The file was encrypted, high-level, government grade. Coalition? Could be. Or a rival faction. Someone powerful. Someone who wants no trace. Then I shouldn't be alive. That's why I came. As she worked on the terminal, a red alarm suddenly blinked on the screen. Her body tensed. A second hunter had arrived, already inside the docking ring. Someone fast, someone who had picked up her trail. "They're here," she said. "How many?" "One, but skilled." "If they're coalition bred, they won't stop." Kaelra pulled out a small energy blade and handed a short plasma pistol to Elias. He took it slowly, eyes narrowing. "I don't know how to fight like you." "Then stay close and do exactly what I say." They slipped out of the room just before it was breached. A distant crash followed, the door behind them blown open by a precision charge. The second hunter moved quickly. Kaelra heard the footsteps. Light, quiet, trained. The kind that took years to master. She pushed Elias behind a support beam and drew her blade. Her eyes locked forward. Her breath slowed. A figure stepped into view. Dark armor, masked face, short sword glowing with blue energy. Kaelra stepped into the open. The hunter paused. Then they spoke. "I didn't think you'd break the contract, Kaelra." She knew the voice. It was a woman, Arson, a former partner. Once, long ago, they hunted together. But Kaelra left that life. Arson hadn't. "I didn't break it," Kaelra said. "I'm finishing it differently." "You've gone soft," Arson said. "All that skill wasted on one man." Kaelra's grip tightened. "He saved my life once." Arson raised her sword. "Then let's see if he saves it again." Kaelra didn't move first. She studied Arson's stance, her blade angle, the slight twitch in her shoulders. Arson had always been fast, aggressive. But Kaelra had beaten her once before, and she would do it again, if Elias's life depended on it. The lights above flickered as the damaged station groaned from the pressure of new docking locks. Elias crouched behind the support beam, holding the pistol close to his chest. He had never seen Kaelra like this, completely still, focused, ready to kill. Arson moved. It was fast, a blur of motion. Her blade cut through the air toward Kaelra's shoulder. Kaelra spun, ducked low, and countered with a slice aimed at Arson's ribs. Sparks flew as their energy weapons clashed. The tunnel echoed with every strike. Arson grinned behind her mask. "You're holding back," Kaelra said nothing. Her strikes were precise, her footwork silent. But she wasn't trying to kill, not yet. Deep inside, something had changed. She didn't want more blood, not because she couldn't do it, but because Elias was watching. Arson saw the hesitation. "That man has made you weak," she hissed. Kaelra blocked another strike. No, he reminded me who I was before all this. Their blades locked. Sparks jumped between them. Then Kaelra used her knee to strike Arsen's stomach, forcing her back. She turned quickly to Elias. Go now. Elias didn't argue. He bolted down the hallway toward the shuttle maintenance door. Arsen broke the lock and lunged again, this time with deadly force. Kaelra met her head on. Their weapons lit up the darkness like lightning. They fought through old crates, past metal columns, across oil-stained ground. Each knew the other too well, but Arsen made a mistake. She overextended her swing. Kaelra stepped aside and struck hard against Arsen's wrist. Her blade hit with force. Arsen's sword flew from her hand and clattered across the floor. Kaelra kicked her back into a steel beam. Arsen groaned, stunned. You won't make it off this station. You know that, right? I only need to make it far enough, Kaelra said. She didn't kill her. She didn't need to. She turned and ran after Elias. He had already started powering the small shuttle. The engines coughed to life as she jumped inside and sealed the door. Are you okay? Elias asked, breathing fast. She's down, but others might follow. The shuttle lifted off, breaking through the damaged docking clamps. Alarms howled behind them. The outer hull burst open with a loud crack as they pushed into open space. Kaelra sat down in the co-pilot seat. Her shoulder bled lightly where Arsen's blade had grazed her. She wiped it with a cloth and stayed silent. Elias looked at her. You could have killed her. I know, but you didn't. Kaelra stared out the window. I've killed enough. The stars moved past them in a blur as the shuttle activated its short-range jump drive. It wouldn't take them far, maybe 1 or 2 systems away, but it would buy them time. Time to find answers. Time to survive. And for Kaelra, time to feel something again. The stars outside the shuttle blinked slowly as the ship floated in quiet space. The jump had taken them far from Outpost 17, but not out of danger. Kaelra sat still in the co-pilot seat, her eyes scanning the black void. She didn't relax. She never did. Not until she knew every threat had been cleared. Elias sat beside her, wrapping a light bandage around her shoulder. His hands were steady, warm. Kaelra didn't move away. You didn't have to fight her, he said. You could have walked away. No, she replied. Arsen would have followed. Others might be next. Until we know who sent the contract, we're not safe. But you still chose not to kill her. Kaelra looked at him. She was like me once, cold, trained, alone. You were never just that, Elias said. Even back then, I saw something different in you. Kaelra turned her head. His words made her feel something sharp and unfamiliar. Not pain, not fear. Something warmer. Something dangerous. Because feelings made people slow. And slow people died, but Elias wasn't a soldier. He didn't think like one. He had kindness in his eyes, not calculation. Somehow, after all these years, he had stayed soft in a galaxy made of steel. She stood up and walked to the back of the shuttle. A small panel opened, revealing a hidden data terminal. She connected the bounty file she had received and began decrypting the deeper layers. If this was a high-level contract, there would be traces, signatures, patterns, anything missed by standard scans. Elias leaned against the wall. You think it was a coalition order? No, too messy. They would have used drones or a full squad, not freelancers. Then who? Kaelra didn't speak for a moment. Then the terminal pinged. One line of code appeared, one she recognized. A royal crest, old, obscure, buried in encrypted layers. Her eyes narrowed. This symbol hasn't been used in over 15 years. I saw it once before. It belongs to a shadow group called the Seraph Circle. I've never heard of them, Elias said. No one has. That's the point. They operate behind noble houses. Rich, powerful leaders who want things done without being tied to the result. Elias stepped closer. Then why me? Kaelra looked at him. That's what I need to know. They sat in silence for a while. The hum of the ship filled the space between them. Elias finally broke the quiet. Can I ask something? She nodded. That day on the frozen moon. Why were you there? Kaelra didn't answer right away. Her eyes stayed locked on the stars. I was hunting a man who hurt someone I once knew. He had escaped. I tracked him for days in the snow. I was close. But I miscalculated. Fell from a ridge. Broke 2 ribs. You could have died. I was ready to. Elias looked at her, surprised by how softly she said it. But then you found me, she added. And everything changed. Elias whispered. Kaelra nodded slowly. I didn't know how to feel. I still don't. You don't have to explain it, he said. I'm just glad you came back. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned away. We're heading toward a safe planet. Small colony. Old contacts. If we're lucky, I can find someone who knows why this contract was made. But we can't stay long, he nodded. Then let's move fast. The ship's console beeped softly. A faint signal was being picked up. One Kaelra didn't recognize. Not military. Not merchant. But familiar. She leaned forward and listened. A voice. Broken. Mechanical. Target acquired. Intercept course set. Kaelra's jaw clenched. We've been followed. Kaelra didn't speak as she moved to the pilot's seat. Her fingers danced across the controls, checking the sensors. The signal was faint, but growing stronger. Someone was following them. Not a direct attack, not yet, but the course was closing in from behind. Elias leaned forward. Can we outrun it? Not with this shuttle, Kaelra said. It's a maintenance model. Light engines. Short range. We were never meant to stay in it long. Can we hide? Kaelra shook her head. No, they've marked us. They're tracking something beyond the ship's signal. Could be my energy signature. Could be yours. Elias sat back, silent for a moment. Then we have to fight. Kaelra turned to look at him. There was no fear in his voice, no panic. She had expected him to be scared, to hesitate. But instead she saw something new in his eyes. Strength. It wasn't the kind trained on battlefields. It was the kind born from protecting what mattered. We'll land on Karen 6, she said. Small jungle moon. Stormy atmosphere. Hard to track. I know a fixer there. If he's alive, he might help us. And if he's not, then we disappear. As the ship neared the moon, turbulence shook the hull. The storm clouds around Karen 6 were thick with lightning. Wind tore through the upper sky like claws. But Kaelra kept the shuttle steady. Her jaw was tight, eyes focused. Elias held onto the seat rail, watching her. You're different than before. I've changed, she said. No, I mean back then you didn't trust anyone. You barely spoke. But now, she didn't finish his sentence. The ship pierced the clouds and dropped through heavy rain. Below them, thick jungle trees swayed under strong winds. There was no landing pad, no beacon, just raw land and silence. Kaelra brought the shuttle down carefully near a rocky cliffside. Steam hissed from the landing gear as they touched down. She stood up and grabbed 2 packs. One had weapons. The other had data drives and supplies. She handed one to Elias. Stay close. Don't wander. If we're lucky, no one's here yet. They stepped into the rain. The forest was alive with strange sounds. Animals, bugs, wind. Every step squelched in wet soil. Kaelra led the way through thick roots and overgrown paths. She moved like she knew the terrain even after years. Elias followed, breathing hard but steady. He didn't complain. He didn't fall behind. Finally, they reached a small cliffside cave. Inside, covered by vines and stone, was a sealed metal door. Kaelra wiped the panel clean and pressed her hand against it. A red light scanned her palm. The door clicked open. The space inside was quiet and dry. Old tech lined the walls. Stale air filled the room. It had been abandoned but not forgotten. She powered up a central console. A weak blue light flickered on. Then an old voice spoke. Kaelra, didn't think I'd see you again. The hollow image of a man appeared. Bald, scarred, one mechanical eye flickering. Hello, Rin, Kaelra said. I need a favor, Rin chuckled. You never come for anything small. She motioned to Elias. He's marked. A high-level contract from someone in the Seraph Circle. Rin's smile faded. That's not a favor. That's a war. I know. The console beeped again. Kaelra turned back to the screen. The hunter's signal had changed. They were no longer following. They were already here. The cave lights dimmed as a quiet alert buzzed through the system. Rin's hologram vanished. Kaelra stepped back, drawing her weapon. Her eyes locked on the entrance. They're here, she said calmly. Elias checked the charge on the small plasma pistol she gave him. His hands were steady now. He wasn't a fighter, but something had changed. The fear was still there, but it didn't stop him anymore. How many? He asked. Kaelra scanned the sensors. At least 3. Could be more hiding in the trees. They're moving slowly, circling. These aren't wild attackers. They're trained, professional. Seraph Circle? Kaelra nodded. They sent a full unit this time. Elias looked around the cave. Can we defend this place? For a while, she said, but not forever. Kaelra moved quickly, sealing the metal door with a reinforced lock. Then she turned to the inner wall and opened an old weapons rack hidden behind a panel. Dust rose as she pulled out 2 pulse rifles and set charges near the front. You've done this before, Elias said. Too many times. He stepped beside her. Then let me help. Kaelra paused. For a moment she remembered the man he used to be. Gentle, quiet, always fixing things instead of breaking them. And now he stood beside her, ready to fight, not for glory, not for revenge, but for her. They took cover behind metal crates just as the first blast hit the door. The explosion echoed through the cave. The lock held, but cracks formed near the edges. Another blast. Kaelra held her breath. One more and they're in. She armed a stun mine and rolled it toward the entrance. Get ready. The third blast tore the door open. Smoke and sparks filled the air. Then the mine exploded. 2 soldiers dropped, stunned by the blast. A third dove through the smoke, weapon raised. Kaelra fired once, clean and sharp. The man fell instantly. More footsteps followed. Elias stayed low, covering her side. Kaelra moved like water, fast and silent. Every shot she fired found its mark. Her face showed no panic, only focus. But they kept coming. One broke through the smoke and lunged toward Elias. He fired, missed, then fired again. The shot hit the attacker's leg, sending him down hard. Kaelra grabbed Elias and pulled him behind the back wall. We can't stay here. There's a back tunnel, Rin's voice came through an old comm speaker. It's narrow, leads to the river below. I sealed it years ago. You'll need to blow it open. Kaelra nodded and grabbed the last charge. Elias followed her to the wall. She placed the explosive, then looked at him. Once we get out, we run. Don't look back. I'm not leaving you, he said. Kaelra didn't answer. She just triggered the charge and turned away. The blast opened the wall. Cold air rushed in. The sound of rushing water echoed from below. They jumped into the darkness together, sliding through the tight tunnel. The stones scraped their arms and boots, but they didn't stop. Behind them, the sounds of gunfire and shouting grew fainter. Finally, they fell out into the night air, landing in a wide, fast river. The current pulled them downstream. Kaelra held Elias close as they floated through the storm, her eyes always scanning the trees above. For now, they had escaped. But she knew this wasn't over. The Seraph Circle wanted him for a reason, and she would find out what it was, no matter what it cost her. The river carried them far from the broken cave. Cold water rushed over them as the storm beat down from above. Kaelra kept one arm around Elias, guiding him toward the riverbank. Her muscles ached, but she didn't slow down. She had been through worse, and she knew pain was only part of survival. They pulled themselves onto the wet ground, coughing, soaked to the bone. The jungle around them buzzed with strange creatures and glowing plants, but for now, no soldiers followed. No drones hummed in the sky. Only the sound of rain and wind filled the night. Elias leaned against a tree, breathing hard. We're alive. For now, Kaelra said. She scanned the darkness, checked her weapons, and then sat beside him. Her eyes stayed alert even as exhaustion pulled at her limbs. Why? Elias asked softly. Why would they come after me like this? I'm just an engineer. I've never betrayed anyone. I've never even worked for nobles. Kaelra reached into her soaked pack and pulled out the decrypted data core. She hadn't had time to check the last layer before the attack. She connected it to her wrist console. The screen lit up faintly, glowing blue in the dark. A hidden file opened, her eyes narrowed as she read. Name, Elias Vren. Status, biological key carrier. Access Vault Sigma Delta. Target level, critical elimination. Reason, inherited code fragment. Project origin. Kaelra's chest tightened. She looked at him. You're not just an engineer, she said slowly. You're the key to something buried. Something the Seraph Circle wants to keep hidden forever. Elias frowned. I don't understand. What code, what project? She kept reading. Project Origin. It was shut down 20 years ago. Genetic testing, hybrid research, dark science. People said it never existed. Elias shook his head. I wasn't part of anything like that. My parents were miners. My uncle raised me. I've never even been near government labs. Kaelra looked deeper into the file. Then she found it, an old image. A group of scientists. One stood near the center, a woman. Dark eyes, short hair, holding a small boy. Her name, Dr. Lyra Vren. Kaelra turned the screen toward Elias. That's your mother, isn't it? Elias stared at the image. His breath caught in his throat. I never knew. I was told she died in an accident. I was 3. I don't remember. She worked on Project Origin. They hid you after it was shut down. Probably changed your identity, moved you from system to system. But why me? Now you carry something in your DNA, Kaelra said. Something they can't recreate. Maybe a code, maybe a failsafe. Whatever it is, they don't want it falling into the wrong hands. Or any hands, Elias looked stunned. So I've been hunted my whole life and never even knew it. Kaelra placed a hand on his shoulder. You're not alone now. He looked at her. They'll come again, won't they? Yes. Then we stopped running. Kaelra was quiet for a long moment. Rain slid down her face. She had spent her life ending missions, never protecting one, but now her mission was clear. She would fight. Not for a contract, not for credits, for Elias, for the one person who made her feel like more than a weapon. They walked through the jungle until morning, moving deeper into the wild. Kaelra had found an old beacon station buried beneath the roots of a fallen tree. She powered it using the last charge pack from her gear. Its signal was weak, but it reached the right ears. A day later, help arrived, not from the Coalition, not from bounty groups or the Seraph Circle. An old friend from Kaelra's past, Corbin, a rogue data smuggler, landed in a disguised freighter. He owed her a life debt from years ago, and Kaelra had finally called it in. He looked Elias over once, then whistled. That's a heavy price on his head. You're picking strange company these days. He's under my protection now, Kaelra said. Corbin nodded. Then anyone who touches him deals with me too. They boarded the ship and left Karen 6 behind. The jungle faded into the clouds as the engines pulled them up into the sky. Inside the ship, Kaelra and Elias sat alone in a small corner room. The hum of the engines was quiet, steady. For the first time in days, there was peace, but Kaelra knew it wouldn't last long. Elias looked at her. You've done everything for me. I never asked for it. I don't even know how to repay you. You already did, Kaelra said. 12 years ago, you saved me when I had nothing. I was ready to die in that snow, but you didn't walk away. I just didn't want to lose someone like you, he said. She looked away, then back at him. You gave me a reason to feel again. He smiled. Then maybe we keep going. Not just running. Not just hiding. Maybe we try something new. Kaelra didn't answer right away. Her whole life had been missions. Kill orders. Escape routes. But now, for the first time, someone had offered her a future. Not as a weapon. Not as a shadow. As a person, Corbin returned with news. I found something. Vault Sigma Delta. It's real. Deep inside the Seraph Circle's private network. Hidden on a remote system. That's where the answers are. About the project. About Elias, everything, Kaelra stood. Then we go there. Elias looked at her, surprised. You're sure? She nodded. If we finish this, the hunting stops. You can finally be free. And what about you? She paused. I've never been free. Not really. But maybe this is the first step. Corbin adjusted the ship's course. We'll be there in 5 days. Get some rest. You'll need it. That night, Kaelra didn't sleep much. She sat beside the window watching the stars. Elias joined her. No words, just silence. 2 people who had survived something bigger than war. And in the quiet, something unspoken passed between them. Trust, not earned through promises but through scars. Choices and time. Kaelra had never failed a mission in 30 years, but this time, she had broken every rule, and somehow for the first time, she felt like she had truly won.